Welcome to the Lucha Lounge. I'm your host, Steve DeMarco. I hope everybody's enjoying whatever fun day they have, whether it be Sunday, Monday, or whenever you're watching or listening to this. I am actually filming this on the eve of our next television taping, which would be Saturday, September 10th. So this will be released September 11th in video format on YouTube. So be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel or go to the Offshoots Network and subscribe there. And those episodes typically drop on Monday mornings or Mondays. So yeah, there you go. Speaking of that, also, if you hadn't caught the first part of my sit-down conversation with Shawn Hendrix, the founder and leader of Legion, be sure to go check that out. Or any of my other past videos or past podcast episodes. This is part 2 of my conversation with Shawn Hendrix. I'll get into that in a moment, but be sure our next television taping will take place October 8th at the World Gym Arena. And also October 15th is our next fantasy camp. Go to realitywrestling.com for more details. I'm sure I'll talk about that as we get closer to those dates, respectively. I expect a great show, and I expect a pretty solid fantasy camp. And for those who are interested, again, go to realitywrestling.com for more details. Be sure to go check us out. If you're in the area that you get the CW 39, 11 a.m. Sunday mornings. Or if you're not in the area and you don't get the CW, then Mondays is usually when the latest episode will drop on YouTube. Again, you go to realitywrestling.com for more details on all of that. So yeah, this week is the second part of my conversation with Hendrix. Now, in part 1, in case you missed it, we really kind of delve into what got him into the industry, how long he'd been a fan, his first time meeting Booker T, the initial training, his first match, and the first set of matches, and then we really kind of cap it off with Summer of Champions, the first one, and his promo and kind of the aftermath of that, and it almost being his first and last Summer of Champions and his last show with Reality Wrestling, but luckily that did not happen. He was able to continue. We kind of talk about how it affected him. And this week, part 2, we really get into Legion. We get into the building of the group, certain individuals, kind of how it all came together, his thoughts on those that are part of his group. It was really a revealing conversation, very candid. We talk about some missed opportunities. We also talk about potential dream matchups or dream scenarios that he would like at some point. It was a real fun conversation, really candid conversation, very honest. I really enjoyed it. We got to talk about promos and his thought process going into promos, as opposed to following that Summer of Champions promo and to what he does currently. I really enjoy his work, and again, I appreciate all those that support my endeavors and are fans of the show. Next week, I will have The Cool, which is Cameron or Cam Cole and Kiefer Bartek. They are the current Reality Wrestling Tag Team Champions. They won them at Summer of Champions 3, and by the time this is released, they, I believe, will be defending or have defended them. I'm not really sure what the outcome is going to be, but they will have defended them against Death Bear, the former Reality Wrestling Tag Team Champions. Death Bear being comprised of Alex Reigns and Ruthless Ryan Davidson. So looking forward to that and what shakes out. Again, filming this Friday night, really came back from my sit down with The Cool, and I had a lot of fun talking to those guys, getting to know them a little bit better. So yeah, I'm not really sure, how that might just be a one-parter, but that's next week. This week, again, as I always like to end these, stay cool, stay sexy, stay classy, but you will be all those if you sit back, relax, and enjoy my sit-down conversation with the founder and leader of Legion as he talks about all things Legion. And until the next time, later! So let's talk about Seth. So Seth was your first recruit. You did the Whisper in the Ear, and you became part of Legion. He was the first member.
Right.
What's it been like for you working with Seth? I mean, Seth's been, kind of your right-hand man since Legion was. I mean, he's the first member of Legion next to you.
Seth has a presence to him, like on camera, that is really effective. Especially with like the singlet that he wears, he looks like he's built like a tank, and with his mask, he's very intimidating. Which is crazy because if you know Seth in real life, you know that he's a really nice guy.
Yeah.
But I know that by myself, I'm not intimidating. I'm not scary or posing in any way. Especially at that point, I was growing out my hair in a terrible like Jufro, and nobody in the history of history has ever had a Jufro and been intimidating. So luckily I had Seth, and that gave like a real like, these guys are kind of creepy, or these guys can do some damage.
Yeah.
And like just even like being out there as a human being and not as a character, Seth just really wants to do well. I know we all want to do well, but like it's almost like a making you proud kind of thing. Like, so how was that? Did you like it? All right. It's like, yeah, Seth, that was great. I loved it.
Yeah.
Everything from the how he used to be like the crazy time. It gave like a sense of legitimacy that you can't have to a psycho stable.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that he was my first member in the stable. It stayed with me. Like some people.
which we'll get into because your second recruit was Sky, literally a guy we pulled out of not literally, I mean, because he had been trained, but a guy you pulled out of the audience, which was totally different. I don't think any faction cult or anything like that really, not even, you mentioned Raven, not even Raven. Raven came with like a group, but it was never like when we talk to someone from the audience and they become a member. So, but conversations you and I have had, Sky wasn't somebody that, if you had it your way, it wouldn't have been like one of your, top. So
Sky was not my first choice.
Okay.
Second choice. He wasn't my third choice. Fourth choice wasn't my fifth choice. So on and so forth. Not that I didn't get along with him, because, and if that poor kid watches this video, he's gonna be like, I didn't know any of this.
Well, yeah, you can't, ignorance, being naive to the business and the way we do things, but yeah.
Sky Brendan can flip a whole lot, and he's really good at it. He's good at tumbling and tricking and whatever he does. Parkour, I don't know what it's called, but he is amazing. It's like, humans shouldn't be able to do that. And with that comes a sense of arrogance.
When he can defy physics and logic. I mean, some stuff he's done, and it doesn't help that we all are like, wow, you just did, I mean, it doesn't necessarily help when we're all praising him and you have Book who's like just on high with this guy because of the incredible athleticism he's got, or agility that he has.
I watched him do back handsprings, like 20 of them in a row, in the same spot. I've never seen that before in my life. And it was so fast, I was like, how are you not throwing up? But with that arrogance, I didn't take kindly to it. I just didn't care for him. I didn't hate him, dislike him, I just, that guy's kind of annoying. If he walks in, I just won't talk to him. And prior to actually doing anything with Legion, I talked to Kevin, and he was like, so, given the choice, who would you like to be in your stable? I was like, oh, easy. I would like Punk Mike, I would like Kiefer Bartek, and Cameron Cole.
It would have been such an interesting
and so, after July, August comes around, I'm like, all right, you're getting set. I was like, okay, that makes sense. And then the next month, I get a message, and it's like, so Flippy Kid's joining. I'm like, oh, yeah? And Kiefer hadn't debuted yet, and I remember him just being mad. I remember I was mad. I was like, ah.
I think we were all really surprised. I know some of us who've been there for a while may not get TV time. We're all like, how is this? And like honestly, since I haven't been to school, like I don't know how much time he's putting into it, or like how often he's around, how the locker room feels. You know, I could just, everyone's like, him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say that a few people, at the very least, not to badmouth Sky as a human, because he's fine. We hung out at the bar before, and he's cool to talk to.
I will say this, he's a very good kid. Like conversations I have with him, anytime I've given him notes, he's real quick to like try to learn, and I'm always real appreciative of that. At least he's not so arrogant about it. Like, and even small stuff like, how are my punches? How are my kicks? How does this look? Did this make sense? Where should I go? And then it's like, oh well, man, shorten up your steps, or not so much wasted movement, and he's always been able to correct it. So as a human being, but again, I look at a locker room and you think of guys like, especially when he debuted, hey, Kiefer had been there for a while, and Cam had, kind of been doing his thing. So there were like other guys that I could, oh man, Legion, especially when Sed's your first draft pick, and we all, on the flip side, everyone's like, Sed's awesome, and he's diligent, and he's always here, he's never complaining, and all all the stuff that you're going, that's the model that we want. And then
and even at the basic of like, this guy's gonna be a heel, he can fly, he can literally fly, and you're gonna make him a bad guy.
He doesn't touch the ground, people. He literally defies gravity. It's not Adrian Neville. It is literally this kid who
Neville's the guy that gravity forgot. Sky is the guy that gravity never knew. So
has never been introduced to.
But that was just a surprise getting that message. It was like, okay, see what we can do with this. And the camera cue was like, Hammer was in the ring, he did his hammer thing, and I was supposed to turn around and look at Sky in the audience and be like, hey, guess what, you're a wrestler now. And he jumps over the thing, attacks Hammer. But the camera didn't pick that up that well. The book was even like, hey, make sure you remember to put one of the Roman cameras on Hendrix, on his face, talking to this kid's face. And he didn't. Like, whoever the camera guy was at the time didn't do that. And so they had to use hard cam footage, which is focused on the ring stuff. So you can be like, oh, what's going on over here? Oh, that kid's talking to the other kid. And at the last minute, you can see one of the camera guys go like, oh shit. But it was too late.
Yeah.
So that was something that I was like, come on. There's not much to follow. I've stood in one spot the whole time, and at the one time I move, you're supposed to look at me.
Yeah.
So that was frustrating. But then he got in the ring, he flipped 19 times, landed on Hammer, and it was alright. It was okay.
So before we continue with the rest of them, like for you, because honestly, when you're not Shawn Hendrix, when you're not in Hendrix mode, when you're not cutting some of the scariest promos that I've ever heard, which I'm amazed by. Like even when we do promo class and I'm like, Shawn, give me like 30 seconds, and you're just in it. Like immediately, like it snaps. Whereas there are others who I'm going, okay, do I have to talk to you to get into character? Like, come into character an hour before we start. So it's immediate. But for you, who is Shawn Hendrix? Like, how do you define that character that you portray? Because is it you? Is it an extension of you? Or is it just...
In Legion, Kiefer and I would reference Lana Del Rey, the scene, because that's...
I'm a big fan of Summertime Sadness, and like most of her discography. I'm one of the few that when she was on Saturday Night Live was just mesmerized by the vision. I was like, why are you criticizing her? She can just stand and sing beautifully. I don't need much else.
Lana Del Rey is oddly a big inspiration for at least the season 1 of Legion, at least with me and Kiefer, because that's not her name.
Yeah.
I can't remember her name, like Elizabeth something, I think.
I think it's like Elizabeth Gray or something. The only reason I know that is because I follow her on Facebook, and because and I think at one point they had to differentiate, but it's like she's got it in like parentheses or something like that. That might be the only reason I know. Not that I'm a big fan and I stalk her, but anyway, go ahead.
Lana Del Rey is a character that Lizzie plays, but it's still a part of her.
Okay.
It's, as was explained to me, is the real person goes through the obvious spectrum of emotions, but in order to stay happy and positive, she kind of compartmentalized her sadness and her anger and stuff. And when she became Lana Del Rey, she let that part flourish.
Okay.
So that's something that I did early on, before I could just like that, was I did my best to stay positive in real life.
Yeah.
Stay happy with whatever was going on. And show days, before my match, before my segment, I would just sit there and I would just let it build up. I would just, everything that made me miserable, everything that made me mad, everything that upset me, I let it build up. I allowed it to get the best of me. And like I was just like the hatred version of Keith.
Okay.
And that's when Shawn got a character, was when I could just kind of split my own personality of being regular guy Keith, kind of quiet, likes to joke around a lot, and then all of the sadness and all of the anger is not pushed down like a lot of people do in real life, like I do.
Mm-hmm.
It's just allowed to bubble up.
Okay.
It's allowed to overflow, and that's how I differentiated Keith Hernandez from Shawn Hendrix.
Okay.
Was just the spectrum of emotion that I allowed myself to feel.
Okay.
So that's how I would do that. And now at this point, I can just be like, oh yeah, the guy cut me off. Boom, Shawn Hendrix. Like I can get to that place much quicker. And this might sound weird because I went to school in high school and I went to college for a brief period for acting.
Okay.
And I was always like, oh man, getting in character. Like method acting of, instead of acting the emotions, was bringing something from your real life and developing the real emotion and using that as a way to act. And so instead of saying like, hey, your dog died and I have to act that my dog died, I'm like, oh, that sucks. Preparing for the role, I would feel how it felt when my dog in real life died, and then they say, hey, your dog died, and I would feel those real emotions.
Okay.
So I used that method acting in wrestling. So when I get to that, like this sounds so cheesy and cliche now that I'm gonna say it out loud, but when I get to that like kind of dark place,
Yeah.
like I'm there and I'm in it for a bit,
Yeah.
for a while after I come back, after the show's over. I'll still feel. I'm still upset.
You still have like the I don't want to say like the resin. You still have like the after effect, like trying to come off. Like I know when I was Steve DeMarco, like and never felt like having a day. Like I was never off. And then when I try to turn it off, it would take hours of like decompressing from whatever, because he was, in essence for me, he was all the really alpha male qualities, like super party animal, super cocky, all this and that, super on, and me as Steve is like homebody, doesn't, real shy, doesn't want to be larger than life, doesn't want to, has his small group of friends, as opposed to Steve DeMarco, who's like, okay, I want to be the life of the party, the center of attention without trying to be it. But yeah, that's probably why I really enjoy, because I can see you just dropping into this guy for however long you need it. And feeling like, okay, there's like some aftershock after the fact. So did you feel like it was like cathartic to be, when you were allowed to either through a promo or through your actions to like let go of all that negativity?
It felt good to use the negativity for something positive, for an art form that I greatly enjoy and respect. And a lot of my promos that I've done as a character, I'm mad that Alex Reigns, you're ruining everything. You're beating all my guys. And as Keith Hernandez, it's like Alex just keeps going over clean on all of us. How are we supposed to look at it? Like this is stupid.
Yeah.
I hate this. And boom, threw that into the promo. Like those actual feelings into the promo. Just recently, I did one that I really liked with the camera. It was one where I had red contacts for the first time listening.
Okay, yeah.
I talked about how I told Sky, like, hey, come back because the world's going to get tired of you anyway. We won't.
Yeah.
I used my actual real life feelings of when we started, we were cool. I will dare say that we were cool.
Yeah.
And I honestly think that through my actions or otherwise, people's interest has definitely faded for Legion. And it's very disappointing because I'm still so young in my career to have, like, please don't tell me I peaked.
Yeah.
So to be like, wow, the world gave up on you, like the audience has given up on you. They just don't care anymore.
Yeah.
And it was like a defeated feeling. So I tried to use that actual human being emotion, put it into my promo of like, Sky, this is gonna happen. I know this is gonna happen. It's happening to me right now.
Yeah.
So it's good to. It's not good to bottle up the emotions, but it's good that I can use those bottled up emotions that I shouldn't be having, but in a like refined kind of way, to where something productive happens from it.
Oh, okay. So speaking of real life, you and Kiefer Bartek are really good friends when, I mean, in spite of everything. But let's talk about having him join the group. When you got that call, I mean, were you guys close at that point? I mean,
we were getting closer by the day, I would say, at that point.
because again, he was one of the guys when Book blew up at you. He's one of the guys that was there to kind of be like, hey, buddy, it's going to be okay, kind of deal.
See, I know that, like, I started there like a couple years before hitting camp.
Okay.
Cameron Cole, and I wrestled a few matches and I was taken off TV. That is like, I barely count that as part of my career because I don't wrestle like that anymore. I don't even, like, there's no character to it. It was just, here kid wrestles and loses.
Yeah.
So.
Not a whole lot of backstory, nothing like that. It wasn't really till Summer of Champions 1 where it was like, that's your debut.
Yeah, that's how I feel. I feel like that was my debut. So with that, like, I feel like three of us, I know we didn't start together, but we came up together. Like, we were getting all of our shots on the show together. We were all at the bottom of the list together, and we were all trying to work our way up. So having somebody who I want to see succeed, and knowing that I myself really want to succeed, and he's a good friend on top of that, to be like, hey, we're going to stick him with you. Fantastic.
Yeah.
We can put our desire together and try to push this forward on a level that it's like the synergy. Like, I can work real hard doing this, he can work real hard doing his own thing, but us together would be more than the sum of two is more than the equal parts, something like that.
Yeah.
But it was good knowing that I have somebody so close to me out there with the same exact goals, the same exact desires, and who would try to get the creative juices flowing to go out there and just put on a hell of a segment.
Yeah.
Get people thinking like, wow, these guys are crazy, these guys are brutal, and I want to see them. I want to see more of them. And that's what I think really made Legion so intriguing, even to like some of the guys in the back. Because I know, not to like toot my own horn, but I think most of my fans are the boys. I think they like my matches more than the audience does. I think they like my promos more than the audience does. So you have Seb, and jumping in a little bit, you have Gabe.
Mm-hmm.
They've wrestled for years. People know who they are. People know how they wrestle. You have the three of us, Brendan, Kiefer, and myself. We are unproven. I had wrestled a few matches before Legion, but we were unproven. They don't know what to expect from us. And even at that point, I had not done any promos. So, and I'm a quiet person. I don't talk that much, except for like the 4 or 5 people that I talk to.
Yeah.
So all the guys in the back were like, let's see what these guys can do. And we went out there and we beat the hell out of people. I would talk some crazy shit on the mic. Kiefer would spear people in half, and Brendan would fly around and squish them. Like, that was something to see. Like, nobody knew who we were in the back or out in the crowd.
Yeah.
And so it's like, wow, all of these guys are so incredibly different because we don't know who they are. It adds an actual mystique to what's supposed to be mysterious. Like, we don't, like Seb and Gabe, yes, you can go and look up like matches they've had online, but the three of us, absolutely not. There is nothing on us out there. So that's what I think was so cool, so mysterious about us, is that there is nothing. And being able to build something from the ground up with one of your best friends, with me and Kiefer, that was just incredible. I was so happy.
Well, speaking of Gabe, because Gabe, even though he had a lot of experience, I mean, I met him when I first started with PWA, and he was kind of a guy that was in shape, could go this, that, and the other, and would be high on him, but there was really nothing that stood out. He was just kind of, you'd be like, oh, he's just a good wrestler. And I've seen kind of his evolution, but it wasn't really till he joined you guys that I really gained even more of an appreciation, because I think there's something to be said for being part of the group and being a silent contributor, so to speak, but still it's speaking volumes, because he seemingly has even though you're part of this collective, he seemingly has an identity that he didn't really have, that people could kind of grasp onto. And it's funny that you mention it, because I know there would be, even though I'm not on the show, but there'd be times where I would literally be like, if they need a new member, man, I will come out of retirement, or I will stop my hiatus, just if they need a heavy, because one of the things that's really always intrigued me, I mean, part of it is I see a lot of the Raven because of the cult, the cult stuff. I've never done a character like that, because I've always been Sexy Steve. Never had to really, I remember, speaking of PWA, when they had Creole, who my good buddy Adrian was a part of, and a couple of the guys, and this guy like Steve, another Steve, and this guy Kurt, like original, when they were like the first PWA champions. And they used to have this girl, Jessica James, who's gone on to do stuff, but she would do Lady Poison. And the funny thing is that before the very first Christmas Chaos, Book was trying to find a third member, because I think Kurt initially was going to wrestle. I think he separated his collarbone, and they were scrambling for somebody. And just happened to be, I think Book's like, I think initially he was going to pick me to be on it. And for a moment, I was like, wow, that would be totally different, because it was going to be kind of this dark group. And there wasn't really specifics as to what they were going to do. And then someone reminded him, well, for Christmas Chaos, he's working in MAGA. And he's like, oh, then I can't. You're the guy that has to work in MAGA. And then he picked Adrian, and Adrian kind of turned into his own thing, did face paint and all that. But I've always wanted to do kind of that, either be a follower or not so much be the leader of the cult, be like a dark follower to it. So I was always intrigued, more so by your promos, because again, being a producer, the biggest problem probably that I don't have with you or your group, which I immensely respect, is that the moment the camera's on, you're on. Like, I never have to ask you to prep. Like, whether it be Gino, or Q, or Rex, or outside of probably even Ryan, very few come ready to go. Abel, it takes a little bit. I mean, even if he's in character, it does take a few takes to get him to go. Outside of maybe Kylie, who actually will come up with her own stuff, which is great because we tell her, well, come up with your own thing. We come up with a location, come up with kind of an idea of what you want to go with, and half the time I'm like, Kylie, don't tell me what you want to do. Don't just. We're going to point the camera and you just kind of go. But with you, I've always been impressed with the fact that anytime we've asked you to be, you've got a promo, you're just ready. And you're in character. There's never, and it's such good, mesmerizing stuff. Outside of what Gustavo was doing when Team International was really king, so to speak. Just kind of from a visual standpoint, some of the breaking the feed, I always thought that was great stuff, and Gustavo's always been one of my favorite persons on microphone because of the messages that he tells. But next to him, it's Ryan, just for the pure true, tried and true wrestling promo. Yeah. It's man, just go off. Or Abel, because a wrestling politician is so out of the ordinary, even though wrestling and politics kind of goes hand in hand. But I've always been. And partly why I wanted to get you on the show was because I think people have this assumption that because you do it so well, that's you all the time, that you are literally possessed by some spirit, or especially with the red eyes, or when we do some of the visual stuff. Because even because I would sometimes before I was really hands-on producing, I watch some of the footage as they're putting together, and your stuff always, yours and Gustavo's, just always stuck out. Because I would always be amazed, because then I would see you backstage, and you're so quiet, and kind of kept to yourself, and seemingly shy, and then it's whether that camera rolls, or that mic's in your hand, you become this completely other, dominant person. And you say, well, yeah, I don't consider myself scary. I'm like, buddy, there have been some stuff. I mean, even when I kind of, there was one that you did, you were just having lost it. And I remember, we were just kind of brainstorming. It's the one where you're writing Legion. And then I'm and we just want you to start laughing maniacally and get in the camera's face. And the fact that it worked the way, I mean, literally it was just that, go nuts, and we'll stop it at some point. So I've always enjoyed your stuff, to the extent where sometimes I don't even want to be in the room because I just want to see the finished product, But it's still magical, even me being behind Tyree and just going, oh crap, what's he gonna find? Oh my god, and he's already got. Okay, great. I don't, and it's usually won't take, unless. The beauty of that building, and some of the noises that come out, especially the last few ones that were everyone shut up. Oh, someone's got to flush it. Oh man. Well, as far as at one point I would think version 1 of the group with Gabe and with Sed and with Brennan and with Kiefer and yourself, that 5, group at the height, and you're feeling pretty good probably about the group. But you mentioned that now you, especially with Brandon leaving, before that Kiefer leaving, what was it like, honestly, when Kiefer parted ways? How were you feeling about it?
So it was late. It was the day before the show, and we all thought that we were going to start getting into a feud with Tyree and Shane. They were going to be the Pretty Boy Killers, and I remember being very confused. We're a cult. What makes us Pretty Boys?
Yeah.
So I don't understand why we're doing this, but okay, that's fine. So that's what I thought we were going to be doing going into the show. And then it's late at night. I'm laying in bed, and the phone goes off. I look, and it says this big long spiel of. We're kicking Kiefer out, and my heart just sank.
Yeah.
And I was I like all of these guys, but he's literally the last person I want out of this group. And he was the first one out. And I was like, oh man, this is just, like I just sat there in silence, just staring. And my girlfriend was like, it's gonna be okay. Like, they even, like, my girlfriend and Hayan had to be like, don't worry. Like, they were actually consoling me over this because it really upset me. They're like, Kiefer's still gonna be there. Like, don't worry, he's not going anywhere. He's still gonna be backstage. He's still gonna be in training. He's not going anywhere. But it's just, no, you guys just don't understand. Like, I can't explain it. It's just like a brotherhood of the five of us. Like, that was the group. We all felt a good connection.
Yeah.
And then him getting out, it just made my heart sing for real.
Yeah.
And I was just sad. Like,
Yeah.
Saying upset isn't enough. I was genuinely sad that he had to leave. And in that same like long thing, Keeper's causing the match, is costing you guys the match. You're gonna kick him out. And then later at that live show, Trey's gonna be debuting. And I liked Trey. I hadn't talked to him that much at that point.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he had a good look with a big beard. I always thought he was pretty good in Legion, but I didn't want him at that cost.
Yeah.
And so it was cool to keep going with what I thought made it very interesting with the new people joining.
Yeah.
Because for like a span of 5 months, it was just new person, new person, new person, and that was real interesting. And then we beat people up. That was cool. And then we lost a lot. That was not cool.
Yeah.
And then another person joins. Like, oh, sweet, another interesting thing. And then, unfortunately, life happens, and Trey can no longer be a part of business.
Yeah.
And this is just falling apart.
Mm-hmm.
From like an actual like creative standpoint. It's just sometimes not all of our guys are here. Trey is gone. Like he came in and he left with never having a name. Never had a match. I had one or two promos with him in.
Yeah.
And I was just disappointed because I feel like he could have had potential.
Mm-hmm.
Oddly enough, he did get live mic time though when we had to do that poem.
That's right. The birthday promo, right?
Please. Yeah. That's Booker's form of poetry. Is just, is it your birthday? Said 5 times. But getting ahead of myself. It just felt like we were creatively in shambles at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of holding on, holding pieces together. And if any of us let go for a second, it would just crumble.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if the other guys felt like that. I know that I felt that way as like the leader, as the person who tries to come up with like creatively who we are and what we do.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like this is just gonna fall apart any second, and I was feeling very disheartened again in my short career.
Yeah.
So Keeper leaving took a toll on what I feel, the group, and myself.
Yeah, because it was really, it's kind of the only other group that I can look at is Team International, you know, and like when Gustavo leaves or is exiled, you know, or you know loses that match, and you know kind of, and you look at, because I remember talking to Gustavo, and he'd be, and most of the members that I've talked to have all said like at one point it was the Team International show. It literally was almost every segment there was something about that group, and you know once Gustavo left, it seemed like it was never going to be as good. Like, because regardless of what they want to say, I think Gustavo was the glue that really held that. Even if you had Ruby or something like that, it just seemed to lose the magic. And I think when Kiefer left, it's seemingly like you lost your soulmate to some degree, you know? Like, I mean, some of the stuff that you were saying, like, I don't know, because I knew you guys were really good friends outside of it, and really breaking up's never easy, you know, group breaking up, you know, like when the Horsemen break up, it's kind of like, oh, come on, man, what's going on? And now, like, Brennan's kind of disappeared, and it's Gabe and Cedric as of right now.
I mean, has it all taken a toll on you? Like, I mean, how are you feeling now as far as, from a creative standpoint or from a career standpoint? How are you feeling?
I need something to be different, something to give us a shot in the arm. We haven't looked good in well over a year.
Yeah.
And I know it's like, don't work yourself into a shoe. It's all wins and losses don't matter, but come on. All 4 of us, and now all 3 of us going under all the time.
Yeah.
Even as like Shawn Hendrix and like, I'm going to beat you, but probably not. Even the fans, like, I've looked at comments and like, the Legion is pretty cool, but it seems like they only just get the good guys to look good. Like, thank you. Like, throw me a bone every once in a while.
Yeah.
Man, just anything. I don't care if I have to cheat to win. Just make me look strong at some point. And that could be my fault. That could be my fault for maintaining my small figure for the entire duration of the push. It could be my fault for not being very selfish in the ring. I don't do much in my matches.
Yeah.
I choke people on the ropes, and I probably give them a neck breaker, and then I hit my finish, they kick out of it, and then I go under. That's generally from the cutoff to the finish. That's the match.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I need to take more. Maybe I need to look more dominant. And that could be my fault. It could very well be my fault. But just knowing, like, oh, you guys are supposed to be scary, but you're actually going to end up looking kind of silly at the end of the show.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I think something needs to be different. Something needs to change for me to be like, all right, here we go. We're all in this again. We're going to put in our A game. And not that I don't put in my 100% effort into anything that I'm given. It's just leading up to it. I'm like, all right, we're going to, all 5 of us are going to go under Marcellus Black. Okay, go. All right, go. And then we go out there, and I do my best, and then I come back, and I'm like, good. We all did that. Every single one of us couldn't take down one guy. But
well, he was
9 feet tall.
Yeah,
he was 9
feet tall, and came from the mountains of Shaolin, and had a dark, deep voice. Yeah, it was a face paint. I think it's a face paint.
It really was. We had caught him before you put that on.
Yeah, when you caught him when he had gotten cut by the Patriots, probably was a totally different thing. Well, speaking, are there? I mean, we always kind of have an influx of new talent. You've worked kind of a who's who within the roster. I mean, we talked about Marcellus Black. Congrats for him getting signed and whatnot. But are there any guys that you haven't faced that like a short list of guys that you would want to face in like a real program?
Oddly enough, even though he ruined my stable, I didn't ever get a match with Kiefer. Never got that match.
Never got the breakup match.
Never got it. He beat Sky for some reason, and then we stared off, and that was literally the end of our program. Yeah. So, Kiefer, Cameron, because that match got taken away from me.
Okay.
Somebody that I worked in tag matches, but I want a one-on-one program, is Rex Andrews. I really want that. And I don't know if I want to wrestle him or if I want to team up with him and make like some kind of deadly alliance. But Gustavo. I would love to go back and forth with him on promos, go with him on promos, or do something. But I know that if we had a program, the promos would be out of this world.
Yeah, I've always, I know at one point I heard rumblings, and it's funny, kind of like low inside, because you know how stuff changes, but I had heard at one point, and I think it was around the time that the Wyatts and the Shield,
Yes.
and I remember Kevin, and honestly, even when Book says stuff, I'm always kind of, stuff can always change. It takes one arm drag for a guy to break his finger, and then it's, then all this build up gone, or, guy can get in trouble and he's gone, or, someone can say the wrong thing and things can change. or, in some respects you look at like Cameron and JJ Blake, where it's going to be it's a throwaway match on a house show, and it becomes this thing, and kudos for Cam and JJ, because they kind of made their careers. But I had heard at one point, it was like,
whether they were going to reform. It was going to be, and I remember Kevin going, yeah, it's going to be Legion against Team International and this big face-off. And I remember like talking to Gustavo and him kind of being like, man, that would, from a visual standpoint, to have the face-offs and like to have, how would that work, you know? And then it
just didn't.
Yeah.
That, I knew that could have been amazing. That would have been so cool. Even just the initial, because, okay, I remember now. We were supposed to plant seeds for it.
Mm-hmm. Well, like Summer of Champions 2 or something. Because I remember talking to Gustavo, and there was supposed to be something where you guys kind of in passing, like on the entrance, and kind of looked at each other, and then it was just keep. Yeah.
It was even on like. It was so close to happening. It was on like the run sheet of the show.
I do recall that.
It was so close.
Because it was right before. It was right after your match, or right before it. Something like the way it worked, and I do recall Gustavo going, "I think we're going to kick it off," and I was like, "Oh man!" And I'm like the promos alone, because I could have seen your start with the feet breaking, and then you'd be like, no sir, I am stronger than that. Yeah.
Oh man, that would have been so amazing. And it was original Legion. Kiefer was still in it.
Yeah.
So that's our strongest. And was Rex still in it at this point? Like, was it original team?
No, I think Gustavo just came back. I think Rex, I want to say Rex was in exile, maybe. But I think he was on his way back. I think because behind the scenes, I think he was on his way back. Like I think it was going to be this, could have potentially been this perfect storm of the two most dominant groups. You know, whether Team International being the group that won everything, but you guys being like this group that could combat them. Because I think at their strongest, there was like, outside of Booker, I don't think there was anyone who really could manage them, especially with Gustavo. Like once Gustavo left, then it became like, who's gonna, who's taking?
They had all the gold for a second.
Yeah, man, that's quite.
Which nobody in Legion is. Yeah, they got shots. Nobody in Legion has won anything.
Yeah, and I've heard. Yeah. I mean, I'd even hear rumblings of them wanting to put titles on y'all, and then it. Yeah, for whatever reason.
Like, okay, not to fantasy book a place that I'm a part of, but last Summer of Champions 2, I was told that it was supposed to be me and Brian Keith for the TV title.
Okay. Which ironically went to Gustavo.
So that just never happened. And in my opinion, the Heavenly Bodies, well, this actually happened. The Heavenly Bodies had the titles and nobody could beat them. They had that four-way match that, for some reason or another, Legion forced their way into.
Okay.
Now, in my opinion, why put that in a show? Why make it look like Legion wasn't a part of it, and then they made their way part of it if you're not going to win it or do something with that?
Yeah.
So after the four-way tag team match, and the Bodies stole the win from Legion on that end, they went and had singles tag matches. So the other teams were the Pump Patrol, Hammer and Reigns, Heavenly Bodies, and Legion being Bartek and Sky. After that, the Bodies defended each team separately. They defended against Hammer and Reigns, they defended against Pump Patrol, and defended against the team that Legion took out to be a part of the match, the Twin Tigers.
Mm-hmm.
And the next show was Summer of Champions. It writes itself that Legion would be the group to take the belts from.
Yeah.
That I would be the guy to take the belt from Brian Keith.
Mm-hmm.
Oh well, it didn't happen. The Shields and Wyatt storyline with Team International and Legion didn't happen. Even the Pretty Boy Killers against Legion didn't happen. A lot of stuff doesn't happen with Legion.
Yeah.
And it all sounds so cool.
Mm-hmm.
Especially, I'm more disappointed that Team International and Legion didn't happen than I am with the actual invasion angle with WWF and WCW.
Yeah.
That was just
I mean, as a producer, I was pretty disappointed that didn't happen. Like for those that I mean, for you, what is Legion as a, like, you know, because like, especially when you're introducing the characters, a lot of times it was you wanting to give guys opportunity that otherwise wouldn't. You look at Kiefer, like he was a timekeeper. I mean, we even joked about him being the timekeeper. Or Gabe, who really had kind of been an original, but not, you know, not really showcased, you know, or Brennan, who probably would not have had an opportunity. I mean, had it not been for the group, I don't think Brennan even debuts, you know, just because I think he's just too clean cut to be, like, what do you do with him?
Yeah.
I mean, his actions speak for themselves, but for you, like, what is Legion? Because it's not the choose your own adventure ebook, you know, it's not that even what was written on that script, Summer Champions 1. So what is it to you? I mean, you know, from a...
To me, it's it truly is what I said in those promos of, we are, in my opinion, we would have never interacted in real life if it weren't for wrestling, and we would never be a group unless all of us, if none of us got the opportunity that I think any of us deserved.
Mm-hmm.
And if it weren't for that, I don't think Legion would have been as strong.
Okay.
So there was truth to that when I cut a promo for Gabe saying, like, he's loyal, but what has he been given? And there was truth to Seth, who was just getting like 2-minute matches on the show, as being like, you can only like throw scraps at a Predator for so long until they don't care.
Yeah.
With Keeper being like, people like to say you got to pay your dues and pay your dues and pay your dues, but he's watching people come up before him who didn't pay their dues.
Yeah.
He has to tear tickets all the time. He has to be a timekeeper. He has to be in a backstage section with a Jasper. All the terrible things that nobody wants to do.
Yeah.
And like, where's this guy's shot? Where's Seth's shot at something for real? Where's Gabe's shot? Where's my shot?
Yeah.
I'm just the guy who got his hair cut.
Yeah.
Like, that's all you're gonna give me. You're gonna take me off TV. So I think the strength of that was that we all really, really needed this to work. And it was a vehicle for all of us to get somewhere that us on our own would not have been able to get to. And it sprinkled a little bit of cult and demon worship on there, and I think that's what you get with Legion.
Some technological ebooks, choose your own adventure. Well, man, we can talk for hours about a whole lot. And I'm sure at some point I'm going to have you on the show just talking about geek culture and stuff like that. So, but that would be a whole another couple of hours. Like I said, I've been wanting to have you on the show specifically because, man, I really enjoy your work. Irregardless of how you might feel about Summer Champions 1, and it may be some of the lasting effects, being a guy who's butted heads with Book, man, I think you've honestly come a long way. I think you're a valuable part, and honestly, whenever I do promo classes or character development classes, when you're not around, usually, I will tell people I use you or Abel as an example of guys that I honestly could just go put the camera on him, don't have to give you a lot, and you're so in tune with your character that it is truly magic. So, man, and really the fact that I think we're both at the forefront. We think of the entertainment and the story value and the character value as opposed to all the fancy moves. I think there was one character development class, and that's where I really I love your work, but there was one where you're like, man, I don't care about what I do in the ring. I just really care about this character. And I was like, man, if everyone thought like that, wow, could you imagine? But I've had a pleasure talking to you, man. I really appreciate it.
It was fun.